Have you ever wondered what a slow, ordinary day felt like in a European city almost a century ago, in the 1920s, before the relentless buzz of modern life? In this story, you will walk through the gentle rhythms of daily life in a small yet bustling city, where the world moved deliberately and quietly. From the first light of dawn spilling across cobblestone streets to the muted glow of gas lamps at night, you will witness the day unfold through the eyes of the city itself, its streets, its markets, its quiet homes. No grand events, no dramatic encounters, only the simple, steady pulse of human lives entwined with the city's timeless rhythm. The day begins with a soft, gray light creeping over the tiled rooftops, the faint warmth of the rising sun brushing the edges of chimneys and the worn facades of apartment blocks. Smoke curls lazily from a few chimneys, the scent of burning coal mingling with the earthy aroma of the damp streets. In the quiet squares, the fountains trickle steadily, their water glinting in the early light as if hesitant to begin its endless journey into the day. The city stirs slowly. Windows open one by one, the creak of wooden frames mingling with the distant clatter of shutters. A baker tends his oven, kneading dough with a rhythm honed over years, his hands moving carefully as the scent of yeast and flour drifts into the narrow streets. The smell attracts a few early risers, a mother carrying a child, a laborer whose day begins before the sun fully wakes. Horses clip-clop along cobblestones, their hooves echoing against the muted walls of the city. The streetcars, still a novelty in some districts, roll gently along iron tracks, the occasional jingle of a bell announcing their passage. Shopkeepers lift heavy shutters, their movements deliberate, revealing shelves lined with neatly stacked goods, tin cans, jars of preserves, bolts of cloth. The city's heartbeat is slow, deliberate, unhurried, as if every gesture were a small ritual observed without urgency. In the markets, women in simple dresses select vegetables and bread, exchanging quiet words with vendors who weigh produce on brass scales, the little brass pans tilting precisely with each selection. Children, small bundles of curiosity and energy, follow behind their mothers, fingers brushing over the rough cloth of aprons and the coarse surfaces of fruit and vegetables. The air is a tapestry of aromas, roasted coffee beans, fresh bread, the metallic tang of iron from the market stalls, and faintly, the damp scent of the nearby river winding through the city. By mid-morning, the sunlight spreads more decisively across the streets, illuminating the intricate patterns of cobblestones and casting long, narrow shadows from the spindly street lamps still unlit. Men in suits, their hats tilted at careful angles, move with purpose yet without haste, carrying parcels, letters, or newspapers tucked under their arms. The slow rhythm of work is apparent in their measured steps, the precision of each motion dictated less by urgency than by habit and decorum. Even in the quieter residential streets, the city breathes with deliberate consistency. Laundry hangs from lines between buildings, the fabric flapping lightly in the breeze. Cats slink along fences, their movements casual and unhurried, and the occasional dog trots behind a child or an elderly man, pacing comfortably beside him rather than rushing. Here, in this ordinary morning, the city is alive not with spectacle, but with small, deliberate actions that give it a steady, tangible pulse. The scent of fresh paint and timber from ongoing renovations in a small corner of the city blends with the hum of craftsmen at work, a carpenter shaping wood, a tinsmith polishing copper, a cobbler bending over a worn leather shoe. Each task, though minor, contributes to the larger, invisible rhythm of the city's life, a symphony of understated diligence and quiet purpose. Even the wind seems mindful, moving leaves across the sidewalks and through narrow alleyways as if aware of the day's gentle unfolding. By late morning, the city is fully awake, though its pace remains unhurried, almost ceremonial in its simplicity. Sunlight now fills the streets with a warm, golden hue, bouncing off the faded plaster of buildings and the worn edges of cobblestones. The air hums faintly with movement, shutters rattle, footsteps echo, and the distant ringing of the church bell marks the passing hour, steady and reassuring. In the cafes lining the main square, small groups of men and women sit at wooden tables, sipping coffee or hot chocolate from delicate cups. The rich aroma of roasted beans mingles with the sweet scent of pastries displayed behind glass counters, their sugar-dusted surfaces glinting in the morning light. Newspapers, folded neatly, are passed from hand to hand, headlines hint at faraway troubles, yet in this quiet city, the news drifts slowly into consciousness, allowing the patrons to linger over each sip and morsel. The streets outside the cafes are dotted with errand boys and girls, their carts creaking under the weight of bread, milk, and vegetables. They move deliberately, careful not to jostle their precious cargo, their small shoes tapping lightly against uneven stones. The rhythm of their steps merges with the distant clatter of a horse-drawn carriage, lumbering along its route to deliver goods to shops or homes. Each motion is unhurried, measured, as if the city itself commands patience. In the smaller residential lanes, the hum of daily chores continues at a gentle tempo. Women sweep the sidewalks in front of their homes, the bristles of their brooms scraping against the stones with a soft, persistent rhythm. Laundry continues to dry on lines, occasionally lifted by a teasing breeze. The faint clatter of a needle pulling thread punctuates the quiet as seamstresses stitch repairs to clothing, while nearby, a window frame is being repainted, its fresh color promising newness without hurry. The river that winds lazily through the city glimmers under the mid-morning sun. Boats drift quietly, their oars dipping gently into the water, creating ripples that slide toward the banks. Fishermen check nets, removing small, silver fish with methodical care, while merchants on the quayside weigh and sort their catches, the metallic clink of scales punctuating the otherwise calm atmosphere. The river is a lifeline, yet even its current moves slowly, unforced, reflecting the city's overall temperament. Children, no longer merely trailing their mothers, begin to wander more freely. A small group chases a rolling hoop along the street, their laughter muffled slightly by the city's stone walls. Their game is leisurely, unhurried, punctuated by pauses to catch breath or adjust the hoop's path. Elderly residents watch from doorsteps, their eyes tracing the sun's arc across the buildings, perhaps recalling a younger day when their own movements were similarly unhurried and deliberate. Work continues in various crafts and trades, each activity measured. The carpenter now shapes a chair, its legs taking form under his steady hands. A shoemaker mends leather with meticulous precision, while a tinsmith polishes the surface of a kettle until it gleams faintly in the sunlight. Each task, though small, contributes to the quiet pulse of the city, a harmony of repetitive gestures that together create a sense of stability and continuity. Even the wind participates subtly, rustling leaves in courtyard gardens, carrying the faint fragrance of flowers from windowsills, and coaxing the smoke from chimneys to spiral gracefully into the sky. The entire city seems to breathe as one living organism, slow and deliberate, its life measured in the small, almost imperceptible motions that sustain its daily existence. By the time the sun reaches its highest point, the city is fully immersed in the rhythm of ordinary life. There are no sudden movements, no urgent calls, only a gentle, steady unfolding of activity that seems to stretch time itself, allowing each person and every street corner to exist fully in the present moment. As the sun climbs higher, the city enters a quieter, more reflective phase of the day. The streets, though still alive with movement, seem less hurried, the intensity of morning activity gives way to a gentle, almost contemplative rhythm. Shadows shift slowly along the cobblestones, stretching from the buildings onto the sidewalks, signaling the sun's gradual passage across the sky. In the city's squares, benches provide resting places for those who move at a slower pace. An elderly man sits with a cane resting against his knee, watching the occasional passerby. The bustle of the morning market has subsided, leaving only the soft murmur of conversation between friends and neighbors, punctuated by the faint creak of shutters closing or the distant toll of church bells marking noon. The cafes, now slightly less crowded, continue to emit the comforting aroma of roasted coffee and sweet pastries. Waitresses move with practiced care, balancing trays and taking orders in deliberate motions that give the impression of an almost ritualistic attention to detail. The soft clatter of porcelain cups and the gentle swish of sweeping brushes add a rhythmic undercurrent to the calm, sunlit streets. Residential streets are quieter at this hour, with windows open to let in the warm, midday air. Inside, households carry out chores at a leisurely pace, dishes are washed and dried, garments mended, and bread sliced for the midday meal. The faint scent of herbs simmering in kitchens drifts into the lanes, mingling with the lingering aroma of coal smoke from the chimneys. The day unfolds as if time itself has slowed to allow each action its full weight. Children pause their games, some resting in the shade of a tree or along a building stoop, their laughter replaced by quiet murmurs and the occasional scuffling of shoes against stone. Cats curl in patches of sunlight, their bodies stretching languidly as they observe the world's slow movement. Dogs lie beside their owners or wander lazily along the sidewalks, content with the measured pace of the day. Craftsmen and shopkeepers continue their work, maintaining the city's rhythm with precise, deliberate actions. A carpenter sands the surface of a wooden table, each stroke methodical and measured. A tinsmith polishes the copper of a kettle until it catches the sunlight, and a tailor presses seams with careful attention. Even the smallest gestures, sharpening a knife, adjusting a window shutter, stacking firewood, carry an intentional, meditative quality that reflects the city's overall temperament. The river that winds through the city reflects the sun's warm glow, rippling gently with the slow passage of small boats. Fishermen attend to nets, removing fish and arranging them in baskets, while merchants on the quay move with deliberate care. Water laps softly against the riverbanks, harmonizing with the distant clang of tools and the occasional murmur of voices in the streets. By mid-afternoon, the sunlight becomes softer, shifting toward golden hues that illuminate the city in a mellow glow. Long shadows stretch from buildings and trees, providing cooling pockets along the streets. The city breathes as one, each movement deliberate, measured, and harmonious, a tapestry of small, interwoven actions that sustain life at a gentle, steady pace. In this slow, meditative rhythm, the day feels unhurried yet complete, each detail observed fully, the glint of sunlight on cobblestones, the sway of laundry in the breeze, the deliberate sweep of a broom across a threshold. It is a day lived entirely in the present, with no need to rush, each person and street existing fully in the gentle cadence of ordinary life. As the afternoon drifts toward evening, the city's pace becomes even more unhurried. Sunlight softens, spilling golden streaks across rooftops and facades, warming the worn stones of narrow streets and reflecting off windows with a mellow glow. Shadows stretch lazily, lengthening across squares and alleyways, marking the slow passage of time without hurry or insistence. In the main thoroughfares, shopkeepers begin the subtle rituals of closing or preparing for the evening. Wooden shutters are lowered gradually, the gentle scrape of metal sliding into place echoing faintly against the stone walls. Goods are gathered carefully, stacked neatly, and swept clear of dust before being stored. The precise, measured motions of these everyday actions convey a sense of order and continuity, as though the city itself is exhaling after the day's efforts. The cafes now hum with quieter activity. Patrons linger over second cups of coffee or hot chocolate, their conversations soft, occasionally punctuated by the subtle clink of spoons against porcelain. Waitresses move with a serene attentiveness, balancing trays and refilling cups with movements almost meditative in their rhythm. Outside, sunlight warms the square, inviting passers-by to pause on benches or along the edges of fountains, observing the subtle beauty of ordinary life. Residential streets feel slower still. The sound of children's games has faded to distant echoes, replaced by the softer clatter of everyday chores. Women draw in laundry, folding it with care, while meals are prepared with deliberate attention to detail. The aroma of simmering sauces, roasted vegetables, and freshly baked bread rises through open windows, blending with the lingering smell of coal smoke from chimneys, creating an atmosphere simultaneously domestic and serene. Evening light paints rooftops in shades of amber and rust. The river, reflecting the fading sun, glimmers in gold and silver. Boats drift slowly along the water, their oars slicing the surface in gentle arcs, while fishermen finish tending nets, placing their catches carefully into baskets. The quiet rippling of water complements the distant hum of the city, a steady, harmonious undertone to the day's final movements. Craftsmen continue their work, yet with an air of completion. A carpenter puts aside a finished chair, running his hand over its polished edges with quiet satisfaction. The tinsmith places the last kettle on a shelf, the soft metallic ring echoing faintly. A tailor examines seams by the gentle light from a window, pressing cloth carefully, aware that another day of work has been fulfilled. Each motion is deliberate, unhurried, and full of quiet purpose, reflecting the city's ongoing rhythm. Street life carries a softer tone. Horses return to stables after their daily routes, the clip-clop of hooves muted against the stones. Delivery carts make their last rounds, their wheels scraping gently, echoing the slow cadence of labor winding down. Pedestrians move deliberately, heads turned to admire the shifting colors of the sky or to greet neighbors they pass, their gestures calm and measured. Even the wind seems to slow, stirring leaves and dust with a gentle hand, carrying faint scents of flowers, bread, and the nearby river. In courtyards and gardens, cats lounge in patches of fading sunlight, stretching lazily, while dogs follow their owners with unhurried steps. The city, in all its ordinary movements, now seems to exhale fully, embracing the serene transition from day to night with quiet dignity. As the sun dips lower, painting the horizon with muted reds and soft oranges, the entire city begins to prepare for evening. The rhythm of life remains gentle, deliberate, and unhurried, each movement, a closing of shutters, a last sweep of a doorway, a carefully folded garment, becoming part of the city's slow, enduring heartbeat. As the sun finally dips below the horizon, the city is bathed in a muted glow, the sky a soft tapestry of deep oranges, dusky pinks, and fading purples. Shadows merge and lengthen across cobblestone streets, and the buildings seem to soften, their hard edges mellowed by the evening light. The air carries the subtle coolness of approaching night, tempered by the lingering warmth of the day. Street lamps are lit one by one, their gas flames flickering gently, casting pools of amber light on the sidewalks. The soft glow illuminates the worn cobblestones and brickwork, highlighting the textures of a city that has grown slowly and deliberately over decades. Pedestrians move with an easy pace, shadows stretching alongside them, their steps measured, as if the city itself has encouraged them to slow down. In the cafes and taverns, a quieter energy fills the spaces. Patrons sip their drinks more slowly now, lingering over the taste and warmth, conversing softly. The aroma of freshly baked bread and roasted coffee mingles with the scent of evening air drifting through open doors and windows. Waitresses move with steady rhythm, balancing trays, refilling cups, and quietly observing the ebb and flow of visitors. Every motion seems deliberate, unhurried, part of the city's unspoken choreography. Residential streets are calmer still. Families gather for their evening meals, the faint clatter of cutlery and the muted hum of conversation travel lightly along narrow lanes. Curtains are drawn gradually, revealing glimpses of soft lamplight within modest apartments. Laundry lines now sway gently in the evening breeze, catching the last warmth of sunlight, and the distant murmur of children playing fades into quiet murmurs of household life. The river mirrors the darkening sky, its surface reflecting patches of twilight and the flicker of lamps along the quayside. Small boats drift lazily, oars slicing the water in rhythmic arcs, while fishermen finish arranging their nets and baskets. The gentle lap of water against the banks forms a soft counterpoint to the occasional clatter of a late delivery cart or the creak of a shutter closing. Even the city's flowing river seems to slow, matching the deliberate cadence of the streets. Craftsmen finish their day's labor. The carpenter sets aside his tools, admiring the smooth surface of a completed chair. The tinsmith places his polished kettle carefully on a shelf, the tailor folds finished garments with meticulous care. Each motion carries the satisfaction of a day fully lived, deliberate yet unhurried. The quiet diligence of work done and tasks completed forms the city's subtle, enduring heartbeat. Street life softens further. Horses return to stables, their hooves echoing faintly in emptying streets. Delivery carts make their final rounds, their wheels scraping gently against worn stones. Pedestrians pause under street lamps, greeting neighbors or exchanging small courtesies, gestures unhurried and polite, extending the city's slow rhythm into the fading light. The wind moves gently through alleyways and courtyards, rustling leaves and stirring faint scents of flowers and bread from open windows. Cats curl up in warm patches of light, stretching lazily before settling, while dogs follow their owners with easy steps. Even the air feels slower, heavier with evening calm, carrying the steady pulse of a city winding down. As twilight deepens, the city breathes with a quiet, persistent rhythm. The slow, deliberate motions of its inhabitants, the gentle flicker of lamps, and the soft sigh of the river combine to create a moment suspended in time. Here, in this ordinary evening, the city exists fully in the quiet, measured cadence of its own life, a peaceful prelude to the night that will soon follow. Night settles over the city with a calm inevitability, like a soft, dark blanket draped over rooftops and streets. The last traces of sunlight fade into deep indigo, leaving the city bathed in the gentle glow of gas lamps and the muted silver of the moon. Shadows stretch and blend, merging alleyways and courtyards into a quiet labyrinth of shapes, while the cobblestones glisten faintly under the lamplight. The streets, once alive with the deliberate motions of daytime activity, now pulse with a subtler, more measured rhythm. Occasional footsteps echo softly against the stones as a few late pedestrians make their way home. Their movements are slow, cautious, and unhurried, matching the city's nocturnal pace. Doors close gently behind them, shutters are drawn, and the faint smell of coal smoke drifts lazily from chimneys, mingling with the cool night air. The cafes and taverns have quieted considerably. Patrons who linger at tables speak in subdued tones, savoring the warmth of their drinks and the comforting aroma of baked goods. The soft clatter of porcelain and the gentle swish of brooms create a lullaby-like backdrop to the city's nocturnal rhythm. Even in these gathering places, the night encourages measured movement, where time feels elastic and each gesture is considered. Residential areas are especially serene. Families have finished their evening meals, and the gentle flicker of lamplight spills through curtained windows. Laundry sways quietly in the faint breeze, while cats slink across rooftops or curl in small corners of warmth. Dogs settle beside their owners or lie at doorsteps, their breathing slow and even. The city's quiet domestic rituals create a sense of security and steadiness, a soft continuation of the day's measured tempo. The river, now dark and reflective, mirrors the deep blue of the night sky. Boats glide slowly across its surface, their oars dipping into the water with rhythmic grace. Fishermen and merchants have long since concluded their labors, leaving only the occasional ripple or splash to mark movement along the banks. The gentle lap of water against stone complements the muted sounds of the city, forming a soft nocturnal symphony of life unfolding at its own unhurried pace. Craftsmen and laborers rest at last. The carpenter locks away his tools, the tinsmith wipes his hands, and the tailor folds the final pieces of fabric, each act performed with careful, deliberate completion. The quiet diligence of a day concluded reverberates softly through the streets, a subtle echo of work done and life fully lived. Street lamps cast long shadows that stretch across empty squares and narrow lanes, the flickering light creating a gentle rhythm as it dances across the cobblestones. Occasional night breezes stir leaves and lift the faint aroma of flowers, bread, and the river, mingling into the air with a serene, almost hypnotic consistency. In this nocturnal tranquility, the city seems to breathe as one living organism. Every movement, every gesture, no matter how small, is deliberate, slow, and full of intention. Night here is not abrupt or hurried, it is a continuation of the day's measured cadence, a calm embrace that allows the city and its inhabitants to exist fully in the quiet present, suspended in the soft, steady pulse of ordinary life. Deep into the night, the city settles into a near-complete stillness. The streets, once echoing with the deliberate rhythm of daily life, now lie quiet beneath the soft glow of gas lamps, their light flickering gently against walls and cobblestones. The faint hum of distant activity, a lone carriage returning from a late delivery, the soft scrape of a shutter being secured, punctuates the pervasive calm, each sound deliberate and unhurried. Windows are darkened, curtains drawn to shield the interiors from the cool night air. Inside, households rest, the faint scent of last meals, of burning coal and hearths, and of flowers from window boxes lingers in the air. Cats move silently across rooftops and along fences, their steps careful and precise in the muted darkness, while dogs lie curled near doorsteps, their breathing slow and even, blending seamlessly into the city's nocturnal rhythm. The river flows gently, reflecting the deep blues and silvers of the night sky. Boats rest tethered to the quayside, their oars motionless, the water's soft lap against the banks a barely audible rhythm. Fishermen and merchants have long since completed their work, and the quay, empty now, carries only the faintest echo of the day's commerce. Even the current seems tempered by the night, moving slowly and deliberately, like the pulse of the city itself. Street lamps illuminate empty squares and alleyways with a soft, golden glow, casting long, wavering shadows. The wind whispers through narrow lanes and courtyards, stirring leaves gently, carrying faint scents of bread, herbs, and damp earth. Every detail, the rustle of laundry, the shimmer of moonlight on cobblestones, the occasional flicker of lamplight, is amplified in the silence, giving weight and presence to even the smallest elements of the cityscape. The quiet craftsmanship of the day has faded into memory, leaving behind only subtle signs of human diligence: stacked firewood in a corner, a freshly swept doorway, a carefully folded garment. These small acts of order linger, like a faint heartbeat, a testament to the city's enduring rhythm. Even in stillness, the city maintains a deliberate, gentle pulse, a continuity that bridges day and night without urgency or interruption. In courtyards and gardens, shadows stretch and merge, yet the sense of presence remains tangible. The occasional flick of a cat's tail, the soft rustle of a leaf, or the distant murmur of a river creates a rhythm that is slow, deliberate, and comforting. Life continues in subtle, almost imperceptible ways, each movement part of the city's quiet orchestration. In this deep nocturnal calm, the city seems suspended in time. There is no rush, no urgency, only the deliberate, measured unfolding of ordinary existence. The soft glow of lamps, the gentle lap of the river, and the faint murmur of wind through alleyways create an atmosphere of serene continuity, a lullaby for the city itself as it rests beneath the vast, watchful sky. Here, in the profound stillness of night, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Every small movement, every quiet sound, every faint scent is a reminder that life continues, steady and deliberate, even when the world is at rest. As the night deepens, the city becomes almost dreamlike, enveloped in near-total quiet. The lamps along narrow streets flicker softly, their warm amber light pooling on uneven cobblestones, revealing cracks and ridges worn smooth by decades of footsteps. Shadows shift imperceptibly, elongating and blending as though the city itself were breathing slowly, deliberately, in time with the muted rhythm of nocturnal life. The river moves with gentle persistence, its surface reflecting the pale glow of the moon. Small ripples lap against the banks, a steady, soothing sound that threads through the sleeping city. Boats, now moored and still, cast faint silhouettes on the water, their shapes mirrored in the dim light. The occasional splash of a fish breaking the surface is absorbed instantly by the quiet, a minor note in the city's slow nocturnal symphony. In the residential streets, most windows are dark, yet faint glimmers of lamplight occasionally betray the presence of a late reader or a family tending to small household tasks. The faint aroma of simmering soups or baked bread lingers from kitchens where meals are finished and dishes quietly cleaned. A broom may scrape softly across a doorway, or a carefully folded sheet may fall into place, tiny movements echoing with significance in the otherwise silent streets. Cats roam cautiously, their steps measured and precise, ears twitching at distant noises, tails flicking like silent metronomes. Dogs lie curled in warm corners, breathing steadily. Occasionally, a clock chimes softly, its sound resonating through the quiet lanes, marking the slow passage of hours without urgency. The city's heartbeat is present but subtle, a testament to life lived with care and deliberation. Shops and workshops rest, their tools and wares neatly arranged, awaiting the sun's return. The polished surface of a brass scale glints faintly in lamplight, a carpenter's stacked planks appear heavier under the shadowed glow, and folded fabrics in a tailor's window hint at the quiet diligence of daily work. Even in stillness, the traces of human labor provide the city with a steady, unspoken rhythm, a quiet acknowledgement that life has passed through this space with purpose. Wind threads gently through narrow alleyways, lifting loose leaves and carrying faint scents, herbs from window boxes, baked goods from nearby kitchens, the damp earth from a garden tucked behind a courtyard wall. Every small detail contributes to the slow, immersive tapestry of nocturnal life, where even the faintest movement feels deliberate and significant. In the open squares, benches lie empty, fountains trickle quietly, and the stones beneath seem to hold the memory of footsteps from earlier in the day. The quiet is deep, but not oppressive, it is measured, full of presence and calm. The city, wrapped in night, exists as a single organism, breathing slowly, moving imperceptibly, alive yet serene. Here, in this profound quiet, the night stretches unbroken. Each sound, the lap of water, the stir of leaves, the distant murmur of a household, becomes magnified, yet perfectly balanced within the city's deliberate pulse. Time feels suspended, the ordinary motions of life rendered extraordinary by the stillness that surrounds them. Every element, every gesture, every soft scent and sound contributes to a delicate rhythm that defines the city's nocturnal existence, a rhythm that will continue until dawn. In the dead of night, the city rests in near-complete silence. The streets, once filled with the deliberate rhythm of daily life, now lie empty under the dim glow of flickering gas lamps. Their light pools unevenly on the cobblestones, highlighting the worn surfaces and the subtle textures of centuries-old buildings. Shadows stretch long and merge with one another, creating narrow corridors of darkness that wind through the city like quiet veins. The river, a constant companion, moves softly beneath the moonlight. Its surface shimmers with pale silver reflections, broken only by the occasional ripple of water against a moored boat. The gentle sound of lapping water is rhythmic, almost hypnotic, carrying a sense of calm that pervades the city. Occasional birds, resting in trees along the banks, stir softly, their wings brushing the air with measured care. Residential streets are hushed. Windows are shuttered, with only the occasional flicker of lamplight revealing a late-night reader or a household tending to small tasks. The smell of coal fires lingers faintly, combined with the cool, damp scent of night air. Occasionally, a broom scrapes lightly across a doorstep, or a curtain falls back into place, minor sounds that resonate more strongly in the quiet, filling the void without disturbing the city's tranquil rhythm. Cats move cautiously, gliding across rooftops and along narrow ledges, their footsteps muted against stone and timber. Dogs, resting by doors, breathe evenly, completely in tune with the city's nocturnal pulse. Even the wind is subdued, threading softly through alleyways, carrying faint aromas of herbs, baking, and damp earth, as if respecting the night's stillness. Workshops and shops are silent. Tools lie at rest, neatly arranged, their purpose fulfilled for the day. The polished brass of scales, the smooth surfaces of wooden planks, and the carefully folded fabrics in tailor windows all hint at the day's labor, now at peace. In these still spaces, the memory of human diligence lingers, infusing the city with a quiet heartbeat that persists even in the absence of motion. Squares lie empty, fountains drip quietly, and benches remain unoccupied. The cobblestones seem to hold the echoes of footsteps from earlier, a subtle reminder of the city's constant, slow rhythm. Even the occasional toll of a distant church bell punctuates the silence with deliberate restraint, marking the passage of time in measured intervals rather than urgency. In this profound quiet, the city feels suspended. Each movement, no matter how small, a leaf stirred by a gentle wind, a ripple on the river, a cat's tail flick, becomes significant. Time itself appears to stretch, allowing each gesture, each sound, each scent to exist fully within the nocturnal space. The city breathes as one, deliberate, unhurried, and serene, enveloped entirely by the gentle cadence of night. Here, in the depth of darkness, life is present but subdued. The ordinary motions of daily existence are transformed by stillness into a delicate, immersive rhythm, a nocturnal symphony of deliberate, almost meditative movement. Every element, the cobblestones, the lamplight, the river, the houses, joins to create a city that is alive, yet profoundly calm, waiting patiently for the slow arrival of dawn. Before dawn, the city rests in a state of hushed anticipation. The night is at its deepest, yet a faint hint of pale light begins to creep along the horizon, brushing the edges of rooftops with a subtle gray. The streets are empty, the cobblestones damp from the cool night air, reflecting the dim glow of the lingering gas lamps. Shadows remain long and soft, stretching lazily across walls and alleys, as if reluctant to yield to the approaching day. The river, calm and slow, carries the muted reflection of the pre-dawn sky. Its surface shimmers faintly, disturbed only by the occasional ripple of water or the subtle motion of a resting boat. The gentle lap against the banks becomes a rhythm in itself, soothing and steady, echoing the city's quiet heartbeat. A distant bird stirs, its tentative song breaking the stillness with soft, deliberate notes, signaling the first signs of life without haste. Residential areas are silent, save for the faintest movements within homes. Curtains shift slightly as the cool air drifts in through open windows, and the occasional clatter of a pan or plate hints at households beginning their earliest chores. The faint aroma of coal fires and last night's meals drifts through alleyways, mingling with the crisp scent of early morning dew on the cobblestones. Cats stretch and yawn on rooftops or along ledges, preparing for their morning rounds. Dogs stir slowly, rising from doorsteps or cornered sleeping spots, their movements deliberate and measured. Even in these subtle actions, the slow pulse of the city persists, a quiet continuity that links the night's stillness with the day to come. Street lamps flicker softly as the last traces of night electricity fade, casting pools of amber light that slowly diminish with the growing dawn. Empty squares remain tranquil, fountains drip gently, and benches lie waiting. Every element of the city seems poised, as if holding its breath, anticipating the gentle unfolding of morning routines. Workshops and shops, though still dark and silent, carry the remnants of human diligence. Tools lie in careful order, wood stacked neatly, fabrics folded precisely. These small signs of preparation hint at the rhythm that will soon resume, the deliberate pace of daily life emerging once again from the calm of night. The air is cool and fresh, carrying faint scents of herbs, baking, and the nearby river. The wind moves slowly through narrow alleyways and courtyards, stirring leaves and lifting faint echoes from the sleeping city. Every sound is amplified in the quiet, each motion deliberate, each detail heightened in the stillness of the pre-dawn hour. As the first gray light begins to stretch across the city, the slow transition from night to day is almost imperceptible. Life is poised on the edge of awakening, yet still retains the deliberate, unhurried rhythm that defines the city's essence. In this suspended, liminal space between night and morning, every shadow, every sound, every faint movement participates in the careful choreography of ordinary life, quietly preparing for the city's measured rebirth with the coming sun. As dawn spreads gradually across the city, the streets begin to hint at life once more. Pale sunlight creeps along rooftops and facades, painting them in soft gold and muted ochre, and the shadows of the night retreat slowly, revealing the textures of cobblestones and worn brick. The air carries a delicate freshness, cool and scented faintly with dew and earth, signaling the city's gentle transition from night to day. Early risers emerge with deliberate care. Shopkeepers lift shutters slowly, the scrape of metal echoing faintly against the quiet streets. Bakers tend their ovens, kneading dough with rhythmic, practiced motions, the scent of fresh bread beginning to drift through alleyways. Women carry baskets or sweep doorsteps, each action measured and purposeful, a quiet dance of preparation that maintains the city's unhurried pulse. The river reflects the soft light of morning, ripples glinting with silver as small boats begin to stir. Fishermen attend to nets or adjust moorings, their movements careful and deliberate, mirroring the city's patient tempo. The occasional splash of water or clink of tools is absorbed by the stillness, blending seamlessly into the prelude of the day. Children, still sleepy-eyed, begin to wander along quiet streets, some following their parents to the market or to the baker's stall. Their footsteps are tentative, soft, as if afraid to disturb the city's slow awakening. Cats slink along fences and rooftops, stretching and yawning, while dogs accompany early pedestrians with relaxed, measured steps. Cafes begin to fill gradually, their windows glowing warmly as the first patrons arrive. The aroma of roasted coffee beans and baked pastries rises into the streets, attracting those who rise with the day. Waitresses move with calm efficiency, balancing trays and filling cups, their gestures deliberate and soothing. The soft clatter of porcelain and the faint murmur of conversation provide a gentle rhythm to the awakening streets. In residential areas, shutters are raised, allowing sunlight to spill into rooms and courtyards. Laundry flutters gently on lines, stirred by a light morning breeze, and the faint scent of herbs from window boxes drifts down narrow lanes. The quiet diligence of households, sweeping, arranging, tending, creates a sense of continuity, a measured unfolding of the city's daily life. Even as the city awakens, there is no rush. Each movement, each gesture, carries purpose yet remains unhurried. Cobblestones glint under the rising sun, windows catch light in warm flashes, and the river mirrors the awakening sky. The city breathes slowly, patiently, allowing each inhabitant to enter the day with deliberate care, fully immersed in the gentle rhythm of life. By mid-morning, the streets will hum with activity once again, but in these first moments of dawn, the city exists in a fragile, deliberate balance, a space suspended between the calm of night and the measured motion of the day to come. Every detail, from the faint stir of leaves to the aroma of bread, participates in the quiet symphony of a city living slowly, consciously, in time with itself. By mid-morning, the city hums with the soft rhythm of ordinary life. Sunlight spills across cobblestones, illuminating the worn surfaces and casting intricate shadows from lampposts, railings, and the corners of buildings. The air carries warmth mixed with faint scents of bread, coal smoke, and the river's subtle freshness, a gentle symphony of everyday aromas that mark the city's steady pulse. Shopkeepers move with deliberate care, arranging goods on shelves and counters. Tin cans, jars of preserves, and neatly folded fabrics are displayed with precise attention to detail, each gesture purposeful and unhurried. Customers wander slowly through the streets and marketplaces, examining items with patience, negotiating with a quiet civility, their movements measured and calm. Bakers pull trays of bread and pastries from ovens, setting them carefully on counters to cool. The scent of yeast and sugar fills narrow streets and alleyways, drifting to passers-by who pause briefly, savoring the aroma before continuing their leisurely walks. Waitresses in cafes balance trays of coffee and hot chocolate, their movements fluid yet deliberate, punctuated by the soft clatter of porcelain on wooden tables. Children play in courtyards and open spaces, their games slow and unhurried. A hoop rolls lazily across the cobblestones, chased by small, giggling figures who pause often to catch their breath. Cats observe from rooftops or sunlit ledges, moving carefully between spaces, while dogs accompany early pedestrians at an even pace, content to share the city's quiet rhythm. The river reflects the morning sun in glimmering patches, boats drifting slowly along its current. Fishermen adjust nets or sort small catches, their movements careful and steady, in harmony with the city's broader tempo. The soft lap of water against the quayside mingles with distant sounds, a broom sweeping a doorstep, the faint creak of shutters, the occasional clink of tools in workshops, all blending into a subdued orchestral pattern of urban life. In residential streets, shutters are fully raised, allowing sunlight to fill rooms and courtyards. Laundry flutters lightly on lines, stirred by a gentle breeze, while households engage in routine tasks, sweeping, mending, organizing. Each action, while simple, is performed with care, emphasizing a rhythm that values presence and intention over speed. Even the wind participates in this measured orchestration, lifting leaves, stirring flowers, and carrying the delicate fragrances of bread, herbs, and fresh morning air along quiet lanes. The city feels alive, yet unhurried, every element, from the glint of sunlight on cobblestones to the movement of the river, moving in a deliberate, steady cadence. By the time the late morning arrives, the city will be fully immersed in daily activity, but this period of measured awakening, where every movement is intentional and unhurried, defines the essence of life in a 1920s European city. The ordinary details of domesticity, commerce, and simple passage through streets create a rhythm that is both soothing and sustaining, a slow, deliberate heartbeat that sets the tone for the day. As the morning progresses toward noon, the city's rhythm grows subtly livelier, yet retains its deliberate, measured pace. Sunlight floods the streets, casting sharp, warm patterns across rooftops, windows, and cobblestones. The air, still cool with traces of morning dew, carries the mingled scents of bread, roasted coffee, and the faint metallic tang of iron from market stalls and workshops. The market square hums quietly with activity. Shopkeepers adjust displays, arranging fruits, vegetables, and household goods with methodical precision. Customers move between stalls slowly, selecting items thoughtfully, their gestures deliberate, as though savoring the act of choosing. Brass scales clink gently, coins shift in small hands, and merchants nod politely, exchanging soft, careful words with familiar patrons. Every action is part of a continuous, unhurried flow that defines the city's daily rhythm. Bakers and pastry cooks work steadily, pulling fresh loaves and buns from their ovens. Steam rises from the warm bread, carrying aromas through narrow streets and into courtyards. Waitresses in cafes move fluidly between tables, pouring coffee, refilling cups, and balancing trays with quiet skill. Conversations are subdued, voices soft, a gentle murmur rather than a rush of sound. In residential streets, women attend to chores with careful attention. Laundry is folded and arranged on lines, doorsteps swept with measured sweeps of brooms, and meals prepared with methodical care. Children wander more freely now, playing in small groups, their laughter subdued by the city's gentle temperament. Cats stretch in patches of sunlight, observing from rooftops or windowsills, while dogs follow their owners at a relaxed, unhurried pace. The river reflects the midday sun in sparkling fragments, small boats drifting along the current. Fishermen attend to nets, their hands moving with practiced skill, while merchants arrange baskets of fish or other goods along the quay. The soft lapping of water against the banks blends seamlessly with the muted hum of distant footsteps, horse hooves, and the occasional scrape of a cart or tool, forming an understated symphony of urban life. Workshops remain lively in their own deliberate way. Carpenters sand and shape wood, tinsmiths polish metal, and tailors examine seams and folds with meticulous care. Every gesture is precise, unhurried, and intentional, reinforcing the city's slow, sustaining heartbeat. Even the smallest movements, shifting a chair, adjusting a window shutter, stacking firewood, carry weight, contributing to the overarching rhythm of life. By mid-morning, the city is fully awake, yet it moves with a sense of balance and poise. Pedestrians stroll along streets without hurry, pausing briefly to observe the sunlight on buildings or greet neighbors. The air is filled with soft scents of fresh bread, herbs, and coal smoke, mingling with the faint sounds of river and marketplace. Each moment unfolds deliberately, allowing the ordinary, often unnoticed details of life to shine in their quiet, persistent importance. In this slow, measured tempo, the city moves toward noon with grace. Every step, every gesture, every flicker of shadow or glint of sunlight participates in a harmony of ordinary life, emphasizing presence and intention over haste. Even as activity increases, the city retains its enduring sense of calm, a testament to the gentle, deliberate rhythm of 1920s European urban life. As the sun reaches its zenith and begins its gentle descent, the city enters a slower, more reflective rhythm. Streets, once alive with mid-morning activity, carry a softer, measured energy. Sunlight bathes rooftops and facades in warm, mellow tones, highlighting textures in stone and brick that have endured for decades. Shadows lengthen slowly, stretching across cobblestones and courtyards, creating pockets of shade that invite pedestrians to pause and move at a gentler pace. In the market squares, activity becomes less hurried. Shopkeepers and vendors organize their remaining goods carefully, arranging fresh produce, preserves, and household items with deliberate attention. Customers meander through the stalls, selecting items slowly, their gestures precise and thoughtful. The soft clinking of scales, the subtle shuffle of coins, and the occasional murmur of conversation form a quiet rhythm, sustaining the city's steady pulse without urgency. Bakers remove their last trays of morning bread from ovens, placing them to cool on counters while the aroma drifts lazily into surrounding streets. Cafes begin to experience brief lulls, allowing patrons to linger over a cup of coffee or hot chocolate. Waitresses move with calm efficiency, refilling cups and clearing tables in fluid, measured motions, preserving the unhurried atmosphere of the city. In residential areas, households continue their careful routines. Laundry dries gently in the afternoon breeze, doorsteps are swept, and meals are prepared with deliberate precision. Children, still full of energy, play in courtyards or quiet lanes, yet their games are slower, punctuated by pauses to observe the surroundings or catch their breath. Cats bask in the sun, occasionally stretching and moving lazily across roofs, while dogs accompany pedestrians at an easy pace, content in the city's calm tempo. The river mirrors the soft light of the afternoon, its surface glittering in gentle patterns. Small boats drift along with the current, fishermen attending nets or sorting catches in unhurried motions. The soft lap of water against stone merges with distant sounds, a broom scraping a doorway, shutters creaking in the wind, or a cart making its final deliveries. Each element contributes to a subtle symphony of life that is slow, deliberate, and comforting. Workshops maintain their rhythm. Carpenters sand and shape wood, tinsmiths polish metal, and tailors press seams with meticulous care. Even the smallest gestures, a chair adjusted, firewood stacked, fabric folded, carry intention, reinforcing the steady heartbeat of the city. Life flows deliberately, honoring the quiet diligence that defines the day. The wind drifts through narrow alleyways and open courtyards, lifting leaves, stirring faint aromas of bread, herbs, and damp earth. Even in the height of activity, the city moves with a deliberate, measured cadence. Every movement, every sound, and every subtle scent becomes part of the city's enduring rhythm, a slow, deliberate pulse that carries life through the afternoon into evening. By the time the sun dips toward the horizon, the city's pulse begins to soften, preparing for the gentle transition from day to night. Every detail, the glint of sunlight on cobblestones, the gentle rustle of leaves, the calm flow of the river, contributes to a harmonious, unhurried tempo, a quiet testament to the deliberate pace of 1920s urban life. As the afternoon wanes and the sun begins its slow descent toward the horizon, the city adopts a gentler, more reflective pace. Light softens, bathing facades and cobblestones in warm amber hues, and long shadows stretch across streets and courtyards. The air carries the lingering warmth of the day, mixed with faint scents of coal smoke, baked bread, and herbs from window boxes, creating an atmosphere of calm anticipation. Shops begin to close gradually, shutters sliding into place with quiet, deliberate movements. Vendors at market stalls pack their remaining goods carefully, stacking fruits and vegetables, arranging jars and baskets with meticulous attention. The clink of scales and soft murmur of farewell greetings punctuate the streets, a subtle, measured rhythm that marks the transition from day's labor to evening repose. Cafes and taverns take on a quieter, more intimate energy. Patrons linger over the final sips of coffee or hot chocolate, speaking in subdued tones. Waitresses move with smooth efficiency, balancing trays and refilling cups, their motions calm and purposeful. The soft clatter of porcelain, the gentle shuffle of chairs, and the muted hum of conversation form a lullaby-like cadence that drifts across the square. Residential streets, too, embrace the slowing pace. Families gather for evening meals, the faint aroma of roasting vegetables and simmering sauces floating through open windows. Laundry flutters gently on lines, stirred by a light evening breeze. Children, tired from a day of play, return to homes, their laughter subdued, leaving quiet lanes and courtyards to the serene rhythm of the city. Cats stretch in sun-faded patches and settle on rooftops, while dogs follow their owners at an unhurried pace. The river mirrors the soft light of the descending sun, its surface glowing in patches of gold and silver. Small boats drift lazily, fishermen and merchants completing final tasks with careful, deliberate movements. The gentle lap of water against the quay blends with the distant clatter of shutters and the muted scrape of carts, forming a harmonious undercurrent to the city's evening rhythm. Workshops and craftspeople conclude their day with quiet diligence. Carpenters set aside tools, examining polished wood with satisfaction. Tinsmiths place finished kettles and pots carefully on shelves, their movements precise. Tailors fold completed garments, inspecting seams in the soft light. Every gesture carries intention, marking the completion of another day and preserving the city's unhurried heartbeat. Street lamps flicker to life one by one, casting pools of warm light along the streets and squares. Shadows lengthen and blend, creating a tapestry of movement and stillness. The wind drifts softly, lifting leaves, stirring faint scents, and carrying echoes of the day's final sounds. Life continues, measured and deliberate, every detail a small, enduring testament to the city's slow, persistent rhythm. As the sun dips lower, painting the horizon in rich oranges and muted reds, the city prepares to settle into evening. The soft glow, the measured footsteps, the gentle lap of the river, and the subtle murmur of households all blend into a deliberate, harmonious cadence. Here, the 1920s European city exists fully in its own slow, conscious rhythm, welcoming the calm of evening without haste, readying for the quiet that night will soon bring. As evening deepens, the city settles into a quieter, more contemplative rhythm. The last streaks of sunlight fade, leaving facades and rooftops bathed in soft twilight. Shadows stretch across the streets and courtyards, blending with the amber glow of flickering gas lamps. The air cools gently, carrying faint scents of herbs, freshly baked bread, and lingering warmth from the day, creating a serene, almost meditative atmosphere. Street life slows to a gentle pulse. Pedestrians move with unhurried steps, pausing occasionally to admire the warm light spilling across buildings or to greet a neighbor in passing. Children, now quiet and sleepy, return home, their laughter replaced by soft footsteps and murmured voices. Cats slink across rooftops and alleyways, stretching in patches of fading light, while dogs follow their owners calmly, paws scraping gently against cobblestones. Cafes and taverns retain a subdued energy. Patrons linger over coffee, tea, or evening drinks, speaking in low, measured tones. Waitresses move with deliberate efficiency, balancing trays and refilling cups, their movements fluid yet unhurried. The soft clatter of porcelain and the muted hum of conversation form a gentle, rhythmic background to the city's evening life. In residential streets, families gather around evening meals. The faint aroma of roasted vegetables, simmering sauces, and baked bread drifts from open windows, blending with the cool night air. Laundry sways lightly on lines, stirred by a gentle breeze. Doors and shutters close gradually, creating a comforting cadence of domestic rituals. Even in stillness, small household gestures, folding a cloth, sweeping a doorstep, placing a candle on a table, carry purpose, sustaining the city's deliberate heartbeat. The river glimmers under the soft glow of street lamps and the fading light of sunset. Small boats drift slowly, their oars slicing the water in gentle arcs. Fishermen and merchants finish tending nets and baskets, their movements careful and unhurried. The gentle lap of water against the quay combines with distant sounds, a shutter closing, a cart's wheels scraping, a faint murmur of voices, to form a soft, harmonious evening symphony. Workshops close gradually. Carpenters examine the day's work one last time, running hands over polished wood. Tinsmiths place finished kettles and trays carefully on shelves. Tailors fold garments neatly, inspecting seams in the warm lamplight. Each gesture, small yet deliberate, reinforces the city's steady, deliberate rhythm, emphasizing completion, care, and quiet pride in ordinary life. The city, at this hour, exists in a gentle balance between activity and rest. The amber glow of lamps, the soft rustle of leaves, the faint lap of the river, and the subtle hum of households create a harmonious cadence. Life flows deliberately, every motion measured, every sound significant. Evening in the 1920s European city is a time of calm reflection, where ordinary gestures are elevated into a quiet symphony of rhythm and presence, preparing the city for the approaching night. As evening deepens into late hours, the city slows even further, entering a tranquil, almost meditative state. Gas lamps flicker along streets and alleys, casting amber pools of light that stretch across cobblestones and merge with the lengthening shadows. The air grows cooler, carrying faint traces of coal smoke, evening meals, and the subtle freshness of the river. Every movement feels softer, every sound more deliberate, as if the city itself is exhaling in quiet reflection. Pedestrians are rare, their footsteps deliberate and cautious, echoing faintly against empty streets. Those who wander pause often, drawn to patches of light or the gentle glimmer of the river. Children are long asleep, leaving only the occasional sound of a distant household, the muted shuffle of doors, or the soft rustle of curtains in the evening breeze. Cats move silently across rooftops, their presence almost ghostly, while dogs lie curled in doorways, breathing evenly and blending into the nocturnal rhythm. Cafes and taverns have quieted considerably. Only a few late patrons remain, lingering over coffee, tea, or a small evening meal. Waitresses move with calm, deliberate efficiency, balancing trays and attending tables without haste. The occasional clink of porcelain or muted conversation drifts into the streets, a soft counterpoint to the pervasive stillness. Residential areas are serene. Families have finished evening routines, and shutters are drawn gradually, casting rooms into the soft glow of lamplight. Laundry sways lightly on lines, stirred occasionally by a gentle breeze. Doors close with quiet care, footsteps fade, and the city's domestic rituals blend into a seamless pattern of calm, reflecting a deliberate, measured pace. The river glimmers under lamplight, mirroring the faint stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Small boats rest tethered to quays, their oars motionless. Fishermen and merchants have concluded the day's work, leaving the quay largely empty. The gentle lap of water against stone, the distant scrape of a cart, and the faint hum of a household combine into a subtle nocturnal symphony, soft yet alive with presence. Workshops and shops are silent. Tools are set aside carefully, wood stacked neatly, fabrics folded with precision. Each completed task leaves an imprint, a quiet testimony to the day's diligence. Even in darkness, these traces of human care sustain the city's rhythm, maintaining the pulse of life through the night. Street lamps flicker against the deepening dark, casting long shadows that dance lightly across alleyways and squares. The wind drifts softly through courtyards, lifting leaves and carrying faint scents of bread, herbs, and earth. Every small sound, every subtle movement, becomes amplified in the stillness, yet harmonizes with the city's deliberate cadence. At this late hour, the city is almost entirely at rest, yet life persists in delicate, measured ways. The quiet lap of the river, the soft flicker of lamps, the occasional murmur of a household, all create a slow, sustaining rhythm. The 1920s European city, in its twilight, embodies patience, care, and presence, each element contributing to a serene, deliberate heartbeat that will carry it through the night. Deep into the night, the city rests in near-total stillness. The streets are empty, cobblestones glinting faintly under the soft, steady glow of gas lamps. Shadows stretch long across alleys and squares, merging into one another, creating a labyrinth of darkness that feels both quiet and alive. The air is cool, carrying faint scents of earth, coal smoke, and lingering traces of evening meals, blending into a serene nocturnal tapestry. Pedestrians are rare, those who move along the streets do so with care, their footsteps echoing softly against stone. Children are long asleep, leaving only the gentle stirrings of households and the faint rustle of curtains in open windows. Cats move silently across rooftops, tails flicking in measured rhythm, while dogs lie curled in doorways, breathing evenly. The city's nocturnal pulse is subtle yet persistent, a quiet presence threading through every corner. Cafes and taverns are closed or nearly so. The soft clink of a dish or muted conversation from a late visitor carries faintly through the air, quickly absorbed into the encompassing quiet. Waitresses have long finished their tasks, moving with deliberate care to tidy spaces before retiring, leaving behind only the gentle hum of residual life. Residential streets are hushed. Shutters are drawn, doors close gently, and the faint glow of lamplight spills into narrow lanes and courtyards. Laundry sways lightly in the occasional breeze. The meticulous attention to domestic rituals, folding, sweeping, arranging, continues in subtle ways, creating a calm and deliberate rhythm that defines the city's nocturnal character. The river, a constant companion, glimmers under the faint moonlight and lamplight. Small boats rest tethered to the quayside, their oars motionless, while the gentle lap of water against stone forms a quiet, persistent rhythm. Fishermen and merchants have concluded their day, leaving only the soft sound of water and the occasional distant echo of movement to mark life along the banks. Workshops and shops remain still. Tools and materials rest in careful order, the traces of the day's labor preserved in precise arrangements. Carpenters' wood, tinsmiths' polished metal, and tailors' folded fabrics all bear witness to diligence, care, and intention. Even in the near darkness, these silent signs of work maintain the subtle heartbeat of the city. The wind drifts slowly through alleyways and courtyards, lifting leaves and carrying faint scents of bread, herbs, and earth. Each sound, the flap of a shutter, a soft footstep, the ripple of water, is magnified in the stillness yet harmonizes with the city's deliberate tempo. Life persists, small and measured, as if the city itself moves in slow, conscious breaths. At this hour, the 1920s European city exists in a fragile, perfect balance between stillness and life. The gentle glow of lamps, the muted lap of the river, and the quiet persistence of households create a serene nocturnal rhythm. Every detail, every movement, every faint scent contributes to a deliberate, sustaining cadence, a slow heartbeat that will carry the city through the deepest hours of night. In the heart of the night, the city is cloaked in profound stillness. Streets are empty, and the glow of gas lamps flickers softly against walls and cobblestones, casting long, wavering shadows. Every corner and alley seems suspended in quiet anticipation, as though the city itself is breathing slowly, deliberately, in rhythm with the night. The air is cool and carries faint scents of coal smoke, damp earth, and lingering traces of baked bread, a delicate mix that defines the nocturnal atmosphere. Few movements disturb the silence. Occasionally, a solitary pedestrian drifts along a quiet lane, their steps deliberate and echoing softly against the stone. Cats prowl across rooftops and along window ledges, their movements precise, measured, almost ceremonial. Dogs rest quietly in doorways or curled beneath stoops, their breathing steady, adding to the city's unhurried nocturnal pulse. Shops and workshops are completely still. Tools are set in careful order, planks and metals await the next day's work, and fabrics lie folded neatly. The day's labor has left its mark, visible in the quiet organization of human effort, yet the night claims the city with an encompassing calm. Even the faintest creaks of doors or shutters seem amplified in the silence, but nothing disturbs the prevailing serenity. The river flows slowly, reflecting the pale glow of the moon and the faint lights of street lamps. Tethered boats drift gently with the current, occasionally nudged by subtle ripples. The soft lap of water against stone forms a rhythmic undertone to the city's hush, a soothing counterpoint to the still streets. The quiet presence of the river reminds one that life continues, though measured and deliberate, even in the darkness. Residential areas are deeply silent. Windows are dark, curtains drawn, and doorsteps empty. Occasional household movements, a softly closed door, a gentle shuffle across the floor, are the only signs of life. Laundry swings lightly on lines, stirred by the faintest evening breeze. The city's nocturnal pulse is subtle but present, carried through these minor gestures and small, deliberate rhythms. In open squares, fountains drip softly, the water catching the muted light of lamps. Cobblestones seem to hold the memory of daytime footsteps, absorbing the echoes and releasing them slowly into the night. The wind drifts through narrow lanes, lifting leaves or carrying the distant, faint aroma of herbs and bread. Every detail, every movement, every scent participates in the quiet orchestration of the city's night. Here, in the deepest hours, the 1920s European city exists as a living organism of subtle, deliberate motions. Even in the absence of people, the traces of human life, folded fabrics, polished tools, prepared meals, quiet boats, maintain a deliberate, measured rhythm. The city breathes softly, every gesture and detail woven into the calm, unhurried cadence of night, preserving the essence of ordinary life in its slow, sustaining pulse. In the final hours before dawn, the city drifts in a state of almost absolute quiet. The gas lamps cast a soft, golden glow over empty streets and alleyways, their flickering light mirrored faintly in the dark, reflective surfaces of the cobblestones. Shadows stretch and merge, creating a delicate interplay of light and dark, while the cool night air carries faint scents of coal smoke, damp earth, and lingering evening meals, a subtle perfume that marks the lingering presence of human life. Few signs of movement remain. A solitary figure walks slowly along a deserted street, steps deliberate and soft, echoing gently against the stone. Cats prowl silently along rooftops and window ledges, their tails flicking with careful precision. Dogs remain curled in doorways, their steady breathing blending into the city's measured nocturnal rhythm. The city itself seems to pause, holding each sound and movement in careful suspension, a delicate harmony of stillness. Shops, workshops, and cafes are completely quiet. Tools lie in neat order, fabrics folded with precision, ovens cold and emptied of bread. Even the smallest gestures of human labor, broom swept, door closed, curtain shifted, are amplified in the silence, becoming part of the city's subtle nocturnal pulse. These traces of activity, though dormant, preserve the deliberate rhythm of life. The river flows gently, its surface reflecting the soft glow of lamplight and the pale streaks of approaching dawn. Boats, tethered quietly, rock slowly with the water's motion, producing a rhythmic, soothing lap against the quay. Occasionally, the faint clink of a net or a small movement of a vessel punctuates the stillness, yet it merges seamlessly into the overarching calm of the night. Residential streets are hushed. Curtains sway lightly in the soft night breeze, and windows reveal only the faintest glimmers of lamplight from households still awake or stirring quietly. Laundry hangs in still lines, catching a whisper of wind now and then. The city's pulse continues, subtle but undeniable, carried in every minor gesture, every shadow, every faint echo of life. Open squares are serene. Fountains drip gently, their water catching the flickering lamplight, while benches remain empty. The cobblestones hold the memory of footsteps from earlier in the day, releasing them slowly into the quiet, preserving the deliberate rhythm of ordinary life. The wind moves with calm precision, lifting leaves and carrying delicate scents through narrow lanes and open courtyards, binding the city together in a soft, sustaining cadence. In these final hours of night, the 1920s European city exists in a suspended, measured rhythm. Each subtle sound, every faint movement, every lingering scent contributes to a delicate nocturnal symphony, a deliberate heartbeat that carries the city through the darkness. Even as dawn approaches, life remains gentle and unhurried, a testament to the calm, sustaining cadence of everyday existence. As the first hints of dawn touch the horizon, the city begins its gentle transition from night to day. The dark sky softens into muted shades of gray and pale blue, casting a delicate light over rooftops and cobblestone streets. Shadows shrink and merge with the emerging morning glow, revealing textures and details previously hidden in night's embrace. The air carries the crisp freshness of early morning, mingling faintly with lingering scents of coal smoke, damp earth, and last night's meals, creating a soothing, expectant atmosphere. Few early risers stir along the streets. Pedestrians move slowly, their steps deliberate and soft, echoing faintly against the stone. Cats stretch and yawn on rooftops or ledges, stretching their limbs carefully before beginning their morning rounds. Dogs, now awake, follow their owners in unhurried, steady motions, paws scraping lightly against cobblestones. Each movement contributes to the city's delicate, measured awakening. Shops and workshops begin to prepare for the day. Shopkeepers lift shutters slowly, the scrape of metal punctuating the quiet streets. Vendors arrange fruits, vegetables, and household goods with meticulous care, the soft clinking of scales marking the rhythm of early commerce. Even the smallest gestures, the careful placement of jars, folding of fabrics, polishing of counters, reinforce the deliberate pace of life. Bakers are among the first to stir fully, kneading dough and tending ovens. The warm scent of bread rises into narrow streets and courtyards, drifting through the still morning air. Waitresses and cafe attendants prepare tables, pour coffee, and ready pastries, their movements fluid yet unhurried. The soft hum of conversation begins to mix with the faint clatter of dishes, forming a gentle melody that will gradually build as the city fully awakens. Residential streets reveal slow signs of life. Windows are opened, allowing sunlight and fresh air to spill in. Laundry flutters lightly on lines, stirred by the gentle morning breeze. Households engage in careful routines, preparing breakfast, sweeping doorsteps, arranging interiors with quiet diligence. The deliberate pace of these early activities sets the tone for the entire day, emphasizing presence and intention over haste. The river glimmers with the first light, reflecting streaks of pink and silver as the current moves gently. Small boats begin to stir, and fishermen check nets or adjust moorings with careful attention. The soft lap of water against stone forms a steady, soothing rhythm, echoing the city's slow, deliberate awakening. Squares and alleyways are filled with subtle motions, a cart's wheels creak faintly, shutters click into place, and the occasional distant voice punctuates the calm. Even as life begins to return, every action maintains a deliberate, unhurried tempo, reinforcing the steady heartbeat of 1920s European urban life. In this fragile, quiet hour, the city exists in a state of suspended animation. The first light of dawn illuminates every detail, cobblestones, rooftops, river ripples, and facades, while the slow, measured rhythm of everyday life begins to take shape again. Life returns gently, deliberately, and with full awareness of each ordinary yet extraordinary moment. With the morning light strengthening, the city comes alive gradually, its pace deliberate and measured. Sunlight spills over rooftops and facades, illuminating cobblestones and accentuating the textures of stone and brick. The cool freshness of early morning lingers in the air, mingling with faint aromas of baking bread, herbs from window boxes, and coal smoke from still-burning stoves. Every detail of the city seems touched by the gentle illumination, emphasizing its calm, methodical rhythm. Shopkeepers are fully active now. They lift shutters with careful, practiced movements and arrange merchandise on counters and shelves. Fruits, vegetables, preserves, and household goods are displayed thoughtfully, each placement deliberate, creating a quiet harmony of commerce. Early customers wander slowly through the markets, examining goods with care, their gestures unhurried, absorbed in the tactile and visual textures of daily life. The subtle clink of brass scales, the soft shuffle of coins, and polite nods to neighbors create a rhythm both soothing and continuous. Bakers and pastry cooks move efficiently but without haste. Steam rises from ovens as freshly baked bread and pastries are removed, sending warm scents into narrow lanes and courtyards. Cafes begin to fill gradually, waitresses pour coffee, refill cups, and serve delicate treats, their motions fluid, precise, and unhurried. The soft clatter of porcelain and the low murmur of conversation blend into the city's morning symphony, each sound part of the deliberate cadence of life. Children wander through streets and courtyards, some following parents to markets or small shops, others moving slowly in play. Their movements are gentle, almost tentative, respectful of the city's prevailing calm. Cats and dogs participate in this measured rhythm, cats prowling rooftops and window ledges with cautious grace, dogs padding beside owners' feet in steady, relaxed steps. Every living element adjusts naturally to the city's unhurried pulse. The river reflects the brightening sky, silver and pale blue mingling on its surface. Small boats drift gently with the current, their oars slicing the water in soft, deliberate arcs. Fishermen attend to nets and moorings slowly, each motion precise, echoing the measured tempo of the waking city. The soft lap of water against stone provides a quiet, steady undertone to the emerging bustle. Residential streets are animated but restrained. Curtains are drawn back to allow sunlight inside, doors open to reveal slow-moving households, and laundry sways lightly in the morning breeze. Families perform morning rituals, preparing breakfast, tidying spaces, arranging furniture, with careful attention. These small acts, though ordinary, sustain the rhythm of the city, emphasizing a mindful, deliberate pace over haste. Even as the city awakens more fully, it retains its sense of calm and measured order. Cobblestones glint under the sun, rooftops catch light in warm flashes, and the river mirrors the morning sky. Every motion, from the arrangement of goods to the stir of water, the movement of pets, and the soft chatter of early pedestrians, contributes to the steady heartbeat of life. By mid-morning, the city is alive yet unhurried, each gesture and sound blending into a harmonious pattern. The ordinary details of urban life, the warmth of sunlight, the sense of cooking, the slow passage of footsteps, combine into a deliberate, sustaining cadence, defining the quiet, methodical rhythm of a 1920s European city. As the morning fades toward noon, the city takes on a fuller, yet still deliberate, energy. Sunlight warms facades and cobblestones, casting long, gentle shadows that stretch lazily across streets and squares. The air is filled with the mingling scents of baking bread, roasted coffee, herbs from window boxes, and faint traces of coal smoke, blending into a fragrant, calming symphony that reflects the city's steady tempo. Market squares buzz subtly. Vendors arrange goods carefully, ensuring that fruits, vegetables, and household items are presented neatly. The soft clink of scales, the shuffle of coins, and the gentle murmur of voices form a quiet rhythm, punctuating the deliberate pace of early commerce. Customers move thoughtfully between stalls, selecting items with measured attention, their gestures unhurried yet purposeful. Every motion contributes to the slow, sustaining heartbeat of the city. Bakers continue their work steadily, removing fresh loaves and pastries from ovens and placing them to cool. Cafes hum with low activity, waitresses moving fluidly as they serve early patrons and refill cups. The clatter of porcelain and soft conversations create a gentle undertone that blends seamlessly with the ambient sounds of streets and river. The city moves fully awake, yet without urgency, maintaining the balance between work, observation, and leisure. Residential streets reflect this calm energy. Laundry flutters on lines in the midday breeze, and sunlight spills into open windows. Families attend to meals or small tasks, their movements purposeful but deliberate. Children wander the streets or play in quiet courtyards, their games slow, measured, and punctuated by frequent pauses. Cats and dogs continue their gentle rhythms, prowling, stretching, and accompanying humans in a shared, unhurried flow. The river flows steadily, reflecting sunlight in patches of silver and pale blue. Boats drift slowly with the current, and fishermen handle nets and small catches with careful, deliberate motions. The soft lap of water against stone and the occasional scrape of a cart or clatter of tools in workshops form a subtle, persistent symphony, harmonizing with the city's quiet energy. Workshops hum softly with activity. Carpenters sand and shape wood, tinsmiths polish metal, and tailors inspect garments, all movements deliberate and measured. Even the smallest gestures, arranging tools, folding fabrics, stacking wood, carry intention and care, reinforcing the slow, sustaining rhythm that defines urban life. By late morning, the city is fully engaged in daily routines, yet the pace remains unhurried. Every step, every gesture, every faint sound blends into the harmonious pattern of ordinary life. Cobblestones glint in sunlight, rooftops catch warm flashes of light, and the river mirrors the sky, all contributing to a steady, conscious cadence. In this careful tempo, the 1920s European city moves gracefully through time, preserving the balance between purposeful activity and serene reflection. As noon passes and the sun climbs higher, the city settles into a slower, more reflective pace. Streets, which had carried the quiet bustle of morning activity, now hold a gentler energy. Sunlight spills fully onto facades and cobblestones, highlighting the textures of worn brick, stone, and plaster. The air is warm, carrying the mingled scents of fresh bread, herbs, and faint smoke from lingering fires, creating a soothing, contemplative atmosphere. Market activity softens. Vendors carefully arrange remaining goods on their stalls, fruits, vegetables, and household items displayed with meticulous attention. Customers browse slowly, selecting items thoughtfully, their gestures deliberate and unhurried. The soft clink of scales, the shuffle of coins, and polite nods punctuate the air, maintaining the city's steady, measured rhythm without haste. Bakers continue their work, though at a calmer pace. Fresh loaves and pastries are placed on counters, their warm aroma drifting lazily through streets and courtyards. Cafes see quieter activity, waitresses moving fluidly as they refill cups and serve pastries. The muted sounds of porcelain and low conversation blend with the gentle hum of streets, contributing to the city's serene midday pulse. Residential areas move with measured care. Households prepare simple lunches or complete chores, the motions of sweeping, arranging, and cooking performed with deliberate attention. Laundry flutters lightly in the warm breeze, children wander quietly, and pets adjust naturally to the slower tempo. Every small movement contributes to the unhurried cadence of life. The river reflects the bright sunlight, glimmering in patches of silver and gold. Boats drift slowly along its current, fishermen tending nets or small catches with careful, precise motions. The gentle lap of water against stone provides a soft, continuous undertone to the city's activities. Each ripple, each splash, is absorbed into the calm rhythm that pervades every street, alley, and quay. Workshops maintain their steady, unhurried pace. Carpenters finish shaping wood, tinsmiths polish metal, and tailors inspect seams, each motion deliberate. Even the smallest gestures, folding fabrics, stacking firewood, arranging tools, reveal the careful attention to detail that characterizes daily life. By early afternoon, the city moves fully within a slow, sustaining rhythm. Streets, squares, and courtyards reflect a balance between activity and pause, between purpose and reflection. Every gesture, sound, and scent, sunlight on cobblestones, aroma of baked bread, gentle lap of the river, becomes part of a deliberate, continuous cadence, a quiet symphony of ordinary life in a 1920s European city. As the afternoon slowly drifts toward evening, the city adopts a calmer, more reflective pace. Sunlight softens, casting warm amber hues across facades, rooftops, and cobblestones. Shadows lengthen lazily, stretching across streets and squares, merging with the glow of the slowly descending sun. The air carries faint scents of coal smoke, herbs, and lingering notes of midday meals, creating a soothing atmosphere of transition. Market activity has quieted. Vendors fold remaining goods with careful precision, arranging baskets, jars, and fabrics neatly. Customers move slowly through the streets, selecting items deliberately, each gesture measured and thoughtful. The gentle clink of scales, the soft shuffle of coins, and murmured conversations create a harmonious rhythm, reflecting the city's deliberate tempo. Bakers tend to final batches of bread or pastries, the warm aroma drifting through quiet lanes. Cafes and small taverns see subdued activity, waitresses serve the last patrons, pouring coffee or refilling cups with smooth, unhurried motions. The soft murmur of conversation and the faint clatter of dishes blend seamlessly with the gentle hum of streets and the occasional lap of the river. Residential streets embody calm diligence. Families prepare light evening meals, sweeping doorsteps, arranging interiors, or attending small chores with careful attention. Laundry flutters gently on lines, stirred by the light evening breeze. Children wander briefly or play quietly in courtyards, while cats and dogs move slowly, their steps blending with the city's measured pulse. The river mirrors the amber sky, reflecting streaks of gold and silver as small boats drift slowly with the current. Fishermen attend to nets or tether boats, each motion deliberate, echoing the city's steady rhythm. The gentle lap of water against stone provides a soothing undercurrent, accompanying the softer cadence of streets and workshops as the day winds toward evening. Workshops close gradually. Carpenters set aside tools, tinsmiths stack polished kettles, and tailors fold garments with careful attention. Even the smallest actions, arranging wood, stacking fabrics, or closing shutters, sustain the city's deliberate heartbeat, marking the passage of day into evening with quiet, methodical grace. Street lamps begin to flicker to life, casting warm pools of light along streets and squares. The gentle glow illuminates rooftops, cobblestones, and alleyways, blending with the fading sunlight. Shadows dance softly, and the wind drifts lightly, lifting leaves and carrying delicate aromas from homes and workshops. Each detail contributes to the city's calm, unhurried cadence, preparing it for the serene rhythm of night. By late afternoon, the 1920s European city moves with quiet balance. Life continues in deliberate gestures, soft sounds, and gentle movements. Every sight, sound, and scent, the glow of sunlight, aroma of bread, ripple of the river, blends into a harmonious pattern, reflecting the slow, sustaining rhythm that defines ordinary urban life. As the sun descends further, the city drifts into the tranquil hours of evening. Warm amber light softens the facades and cobblestones, blending shadows into gentle patterns that stretch across streets and courtyards. The air carries the subtle sense of evening meals, fading coal smoke, and lingering herbs, creating a quiet, reflective atmosphere that envelopes the city in calm. Market activity has ceased, leaving empty stalls neatly arranged. Shopkeepers secure shutters and organize remaining goods with deliberate care. Even in stillness, every movement, closing a window, stacking a basket, folding a cloth, maintains the city's unhurried tempo, sustaining the rhythm of ordinary life. Cafes and taverns retain a subdued presence. Patrons linger over the last cups of coffee or tea, speaking softly in measured tones. Waitresses move with precise, fluid motions, balancing trays and clearing tables with gentle efficiency. The clatter of porcelain, the soft murmur of conversation, and the faint shuffle of chairs create a calm, almost meditative evening symphony that drifts across quiet streets. Residential areas exhibit slow, deliberate activity. Families prepare evening meals or attend to small chores, movements careful and considered. Laundry sways lightly on lines, catching the gentle breeze. Children play quietly or retreat indoors, and pets adjust to the slower rhythm, cats stretching across rooftops and dogs resting in doorways. Every gesture contributes to the city's sustaining, measured heartbeat. The river reflects the warm hues of the fading sun, its surface glimmering with gold and silver. Small boats drift gently, tethered or guided by the current, while fishermen and merchants tend nets or goods with deliberate, precise motions. The soft lap of water against stone forms a steady undertone to the quiet of streets and workshops, reinforcing the serene cadence of evening. Workshops and shops wind down. Carpenters examine their finished woodwork, tinsmiths polish metal with care, and tailors fold fabrics meticulously. Each small, precise gesture marks the completion of the day's labor, contributing to the city's deliberate and harmonious rhythm. Street lamps flicker to life along streets and squares, their warm glow blending with the remaining light of the setting sun. Shadows stretch and soften, and the evening breeze drifts through courtyards, lifting leaves and carrying faint aromas. Every sound and motion, footsteps, shutters, distant voices, flowing water, becomes part of a gentle, deliberate nocturnal symphony, preparing the city for night. By early evening, the 1920s European city exists in a state of quiet balance. Life continues in subtle gestures and measured movements, every detail, glimmering rooftops, soft light, gentle river ripples, woven into a slow, sustaining rhythm that carries the city seamlessly from day into night. As evening deepens into night, the city settles into near-total stillness. Gas lamps cast their soft, amber glow, illuminating empty streets and squares, their flickering light mirrored faintly on the glistening cobblestones. Shadows stretch and merge into long, delicate patterns, while the cool night air carries faint traces of coal smoke, herbs, and the last remnants of evening meals, creating a calm, introspective atmosphere. Few movements disturb the quiet. Occasionally, a solitary pedestrian crosses a deserted lane, each step deliberate, echoing softly against stone. Cats move silently along rooftops and window ledges, tails flicking in measured rhythm, while dogs lie curled in doorways, breathing evenly. The city itself seems to exhale in slow, controlled breaths, maintaining a subtle, persistent pulse even in apparent stillness. Shops, workshops, and cafes are silent. Tools rest in careful order, ovens are cold, and fabrics remain neatly folded. The traces of daytime labor linger, preserved in the careful arrangement of objects and spaces. Even the faintest sounds, doors closing, shutters shifting, resonate softly in the encompassing quiet, reinforcing the sense of a city at deliberate rest. The river flows gently, reflecting the flickering lamps and pale moonlight. Tethered boats drift slowly with the current, while the gentle lap of water against stone forms a soothing, constant undertone. The occasional movement of a fisherman or a boat provides subtle texture to the quiet, merging seamlessly with the city's nocturnal rhythm. Residential streets are hushed. Curtains sway gently in the soft breeze, and windows reveal faint glimmers of lamplight from households still awake or preparing for sleep. Laundry hangs motionless, stirred only occasionally by wind. The city's pulse persists in these small, delicate motions, a subtle, sustaining rhythm woven through streets, alleys, and courtyards. Open squares are serene. Fountains drip softly, water glinting in the faint lamplight, while benches stand empty. Cobblestones hold echoes of footsteps from earlier hours, releasing them slowly into the night. The wind drifts through narrow lanes, lifting leaves and carrying faint aromas of bread, herbs, and damp earth. Every minor sound and motion blends into the gentle, deliberate cadence that defines the city at night. In the deepest hours, the 1920s European city exists as a living organism of subtle, intentional movement. Even in darkness, the traces of human life, folded fabrics, polished tools, quiet boats, prepared meals, maintain the city's steady heartbeat. Every gesture, sound, and shadow contributes to the calm, unhurried rhythm that carries the city through the night, preserving the quiet, sustaining cadence of ordinary life. As the night slowly fades, the first pale streaks of dawn begin to touch the horizon. The city, still largely silent, seems to hold its breath in anticipation of the new day. Gas lamps cast a soft, lingering glow over empty streets and squares, mingling with the emerging gray and pale blue of morning light. Shadows shrink and shift, revealing textures in rooftops, cobblestones, and walls previously hidden by darkness. The air is cool and fresh, carrying faint scents of dew, lingering coal smoke, and the subtle aroma of baked bread from early risers. A few early pedestrians venture out, their steps measured and quiet, echoing softly against stone streets. Cats stretch along rooftops and window ledges, moving with cautious grace. Dogs awaken slowly, padding beside their owners in calm, deliberate steps. Even in these early hours, every movement seems to follow the city's gentle, sustaining rhythm, careful not to disturb the fragile serenity of dawn. Shops and workshops begin tentative preparations for the day. Shopkeepers lift shutters slowly, the soft scrape of metal echoing in empty lanes. Market vendors arrange fruits, vegetables, and household goods with deliberate care. The gentle clink of scales and the faint rustle of coins punctuate the stillness, creating a subtle rhythm that bridges night and morning. Bakers are among the first fully active, kneading dough and tending warm ovens. The scent of fresh bread drifts softly through quiet streets, blending with the crisp morning air. Cafes gradually stir, waitresses pouring coffee and preparing pastries in precise, unhurried motions. The faint murmur of conversation begins to mix with the gentle hum of the waking city. Residential streets reveal slow, deliberate signs of life. Curtains are drawn back to let in soft light. Families prepare simple breakfasts, attend to household chores, and move with quiet, measured care. Laundry flutters gently on lines in the morning breeze, while children stir slowly, emerging into the calm streets for the first stretches of play. Pets adjust to the emerging rhythm, following or observing with deliberate movements. The river glimmers faintly under the first light, reflecting soft pinks and silvers. Boats drift slowly with the current, while fishermen and merchants make careful, deliberate motions tending nets or moorings. The soft lap of water against stone provides a rhythmic undertone to the city's gradual awakening. Squares and alleyways echo subtly with early activity, the creak of shutters, distant footsteps, a faint conversation, or the soft scrape of a cart. Even as life begins to return, the city's pace remains deliberate and unhurried. Cobblestones, rooftops, and the flowing river together form a measured cadence, guiding the city from night into the mindful, sustaining rhythm of day. In this fragile, quiet hour, the 1920s European city awakens slowly. Each sound, gesture, and scent, dew on cobblestones, the aroma of fresh bread, the gentle flow of the river, contributes to the deliberate, continuous heartbeat of life, preparing the city for the day ahead without rush, honoring the measured rhythm of ordinary existence. With the morning sun rising higher, the city gradually comes to life. Cobblestones gleam under the soft light, rooftops glow warmly, and the textures of brick, stone, and plaster are revealed in delicate detail. The air carries the crisp freshness of early day, mingling with the lingering aromas of baked bread, roasted coffee, and herbs from window boxes. Every scent, sound, and movement contributes to a deliberate, calming rhythm. Shopkeepers fully engage with the day. Shutters are lifted entirely, and counters and shelves are arranged with care. Vendors in the market display fruits, vegetables, and household goods meticulously. Customers stroll slowly through the lanes, selecting items thoughtfully, their gestures measured and unhurried. The occasional clink of coins, soft shuffle of feet, and gentle murmur of conversation form a harmonious morning cadence. Bakers and cafe staff work with careful precision. Steam rises from ovens as fresh loaves and pastries are placed to cool. Waitresses move fluidly, pouring coffee and serving patrons with quiet attention. The muted clatter of dishes and the soft hum of conversation blend seamlessly with the subtle sounds of streets, river, and distant workshops, forming a cohesive, measured symphony. Residential areas show life in gentle, deliberate motions. Households prepare meals, children wander or play quietly in courtyards, and pets move naturally within the city's rhythm. Laundry flutters in the breeze, doors open slowly, and sunlight spills into rooms, revealing interiors arranged with calm attention. Each action contributes to the city's sustaining tempo, emphasizing mindfulness and care over haste. The river reflects the brightening sky, silver and pale blue interwoven in gentle currents. Boats drift slowly, tethered or guided with careful hands. Fishermen check nets, and the soft lap of water against stone provides a steady undertone to the city's activity. This rhythm persists alongside workshops and craftspeople, carpenters, tinsmiths, and tailors, whose deliberate movements maintain the measured tempo of daily labor. Squares and alleys hum subtly with morning life, the scrape of shutters, faint footsteps, occasional carts, and murmured voices. Even in these small sounds, the city's deliberate pulse is evident. Every gesture, motion, and sound is woven into a slow, sustaining pattern that shapes the day without hurry. By mid-morning, the city is fully awake yet remains composed. Cobblestones glint in the sun, rooftops catch warm light, and the river mirrors the sky. Every motion, human, animal, or waterborne, blends into the steady, conscious cadence of life. The 1920s European city, in all its ordinary details, flows gracefully through the morning, preserving the slow, mindful rhythm of urban life. As morning merges into midday, the city's rhythm grows subtly livelier, yet remains deliberate and measured. Sunlight pours over rooftops and facades, casting soft, warm highlights on cobblestones and accentuating the textures of stone, brick, and plaster. The air is warmer, carrying the combined scents of baked bread, roasted coffee, herbs, and faint smoke from household stoves. Every sense is immersed in the gentle pulse of daily life. Market squares hum with controlled activity. Vendors display their goods carefully, fruits, vegetables, herbs, and household items arranged with precise attention. Customers move deliberately among the stalls, selecting items thoughtfully, examining textures and colors without rush. The soft clink of scales, shuffle of coins, and polite murmurs of conversation blend into the city's sustaining rhythm. Bakers and cafe staff continue to work efficiently yet without haste. Steam rises from ovens, bread is placed to cool, and pastries are arranged on counters. Waitresses pour coffee, refill cups, and serve patrons in smooth, precise motions. The clatter of porcelain, gentle conversations, and distant footsteps across cobblestones combine into a calm, continuous symphony, echoing throughout streets and courtyards. Residential streets show the quiet persistence of daily routines. Families prepare simple meals, sweep doorsteps, and tend to household chores with careful attention. Children wander or play gently, while cats and dogs follow or observe, each movement harmonizing with the measured flow of the city. Laundry sways lightly on lines, catching soft breezes, and sunlight illuminates interiors with a warm glow. The river reflects the bright sky, silver currents moving steadily with the flow. Small boats drift lazily or are guided with deliberate precision, and fishermen attend to nets with careful, rhythmic motions. The gentle lap of water against stone forms a persistent, calming undertone that anchors the city's pulse. Workshops are alive with quiet activity. Carpenters, tinsmiths, and tailors move with attention to detail, each gesture intentional and precise. Tools are handled with care, materials stacked neatly, and every action reflects the deliberate pace of work and the mindfulness inherent in everyday life. Squares, alleys, and streets carry subtle energy, the creak of shutters, distant footsteps, and occasional murmured voices harmonize with the surrounding sounds. Life flows steadily, deliberate yet alive, every gesture contributing to a continuous, slow rhythm that defines the city's identity. By early afternoon, the city exists in a balance of gentle activity and mindful observation. Cobblestones, rooftops, and the river gleam in sunlight, and every motion, human, animal, or waterborne, flows into a cohesive, deliberate cadence. In this unhurried tempo, the 1920s European city continues its day, preserving the slow, sustaining rhythm of ordinary urban life. As afternoon drifts toward evening, the city slows its pace, embracing a calm, reflective rhythm. Sunlight softens, turning rooftops and facades into warm amber hues, while cobblestones glisten under the mellow light. Shadows stretch across streets, squares, and alleys, merging gently as the day begins its gradual descent into dusk. The air carries faint scents of evening meals, fading coal smoke, and fresh herbs, blending into a soothing, contemplative atmosphere. Market activity diminishes. Vendors close stalls or carefully fold remaining goods, arranging baskets, jars, and fabrics with precise attention. The occasional passerby moves slowly along quiet streets, their footsteps echoing softly against the stones. Even in this stillness, the city's rhythm persists, deliberate and measured, each gesture a reflection of mindful urban life. Cafes and taverns retain subdued activity. Late patrons linger over coffee or tea, their conversations low and deliberate. Waitresses move fluidly, balancing trays and clearing tables with quiet efficiency. The soft murmur of voices, gentle clatter of dishes, and distant shuffle of footsteps combine into a meditative evening symphony that drifts through streets and courtyards. Residential areas reflect calm diligence. Families prepare light dinners or attend to chores with careful movements. Laundry flutters lightly on lines in the gentle evening breeze. Children play quietly or retreat indoors, while cats and dogs follow their natural rhythms, prowling rooftops or resting in doorways. Every action reinforces the city's sustaining heartbeat. The river mirrors the soft amber sky, flowing gently with the current. Boats drift slowly, tethered or guided by careful hands, while fishermen attend to nets and moorings in deliberate, precise motions. The subtle lap of water against stone becomes a steady undertone, harmonizing with the city's quiet evening tempo. Workshops wind down. Carpenters inspect finished woodwork, tinsmiths polish metal, and tailors fold garments meticulously. Small gestures, stacking fabrics, arranging tools, closing shutters, mark the completion of daily labor, sustaining the deliberate, harmonious rhythm of urban life. Street lamps flicker to life, casting warm pools of light along streets and alleys. Shadows dance softly, and the evening breeze carries faint aromas through the city. Each minor sound, footsteps, shutters, distant voices, flowing water, blends into a gentle nocturnal symphony, preparing the city for the calm, sustaining rhythm of night. By late afternoon and early evening, the 1920s European city moves with deliberate balance. Life continues in subtle gestures, soft sounds, and gentle motions, every detail, glimmering rooftops, warm light, rippling river, woven into the slow, mindful cadence that carries the city from day into night. As the evening deepens into night, the city drifts into a serene, almost suspended state. Gas lamps cast their soft, golden glow across empty streets, courtyards, and squares, their light reflecting faintly on the cobblestones. Shadows stretch long and merge gently, creating a delicate pattern across facades and alleyways. The air is cool and carries lingering scents of evening meals, fading coal smoke, and herbs, weaving a quiet, contemplative atmosphere over the city. Few sounds disturb the stillness. Occasionally, a solitary pedestrian moves along a quiet lane, each step echoing softly against stone. Cats roam silently along rooftops and window ledges, tails flicking with measured grace, while dogs lie curled in doorways, their breathing calm and steady. The city itself seems to breathe slowly, maintaining a subtle, persistent pulse even in near-complete stillness. Shops, workshops, and cafes are closed or fully quiet. Tools rest neatly, ovens lie cold, and fabrics remain folded. The traces of daytime activity linger, arranged with deliberate care, marking the passage of the day. Even the faintest sounds, shutters closing, a door clicking, echo softly through the hushed streets, reinforcing the sense of measured calm. The river reflects the flickering lamps and pale moonlight, its surface flowing gently. Boats drift slowly, tethered to quays or guided with careful hands. The soft lap of water against stone forms a soothing, constant undertone, blending with the city's nocturnal rhythm. Occasionally, the faint movement of a fisherman or a boat adds subtle texture, merging seamlessly with the stillness. Residential streets are hushed. Curtains sway lightly in the night breeze, and windows reveal faint glimmers of lamplight from households still awake or preparing for sleep. Laundry hangs motionless, only gently stirred by wind. Every small motion, the shuffle of a foot, the flick of a shutter, maintains the delicate rhythm of the city's nighttime heartbeat. Open squares are serene. Fountains drip softly, water glinting in lamplight, while benches stand empty. Cobblestones hold the memory of daytime footsteps, releasing them slowly into the quiet. The wind drifts lightly, carrying faint aromas through narrow lanes and courtyards. Each sound and motion contributes to a slow, deliberate nocturnal symphony, preserving the calm, sustaining cadence of life. In the deepest hours of the night, the 1920s European city exists as a living organism of subtle, intentional motion. Every gesture, sound, and shadow, folded fabrics, polished tools, quiet boats, prepared meals, blends into the city's steady heartbeat, carrying it through the night with a mindful, unhurried rhythm that defines ordinary life. As night gradually yields to dawn, the city completes its slow, measured cycle. The first pale streaks of light touch the horizon, blending gray, silver, and soft pink across rooftops, streets, and the river. Gas lamps flicker softly for the last time before daylight overtakes them, and shadows shrink, revealing textures in stone, brick, and plaster previously hidden by darkness. The air is crisp and fresh, carrying faint scents of dew, lingering coal smoke, and the earliest aromas of bread and morning preparations. Few figures stir in the quiet streets. A solitary pedestrian moves with slow, deliberate steps, cats stretch along rooftops and ledges, tails flicking with precision, dogs awaken gradually, padding beside their owners in careful, measured motion. Each small gesture echoes the city's sustaining heartbeat, bridging the stillness of night with the emergence of a new day. Shops and workshops begin gentle preparations. Shutters are lifted slowly, scales are arranged, and goods are displayed with careful attention. Bakers tend early doughs and warm ovens, the scent of fresh bread drifting into narrow lanes. Cafes stir quietly, waitresses moving fluidly, pouring coffee, and arranging pastries in deliberate motion. The faint hum of conversation and the soft clatter of dishes mark the gentle return of activity. Residential areas awaken with calm precision. Families rise and attend to breakfasts, children stretch and wander, and pets follow routines with unhurried grace. Laundry flutters lightly on lines, sunlight spills through windows, and interiors are arranged with mindful care. Every movement, every gesture reinforces the deliberate, sustaining rhythm of life. The river mirrors the awakening sky, silver currents flowing steadily as small boats drift with the morning tide. Fishermen and merchants attend to nets and moorings in careful, deliberate motions, their presence adding a gentle texture to the quiet streets and squares. The lap of water against stone forms a soothing, continuous undertone, harmonizing with the city's measured pulse. Squares, alleys, and streets hum subtly with early activity, shutters scraping, faint footsteps, distant voices, and the soft rumble of carts. Each sound is absorbed into the city's deliberate cadence, a slow, mindful rhythm that guides every motion. Cobblestones glint under the emerging sun, rooftops catch warm light, and the river reflects the gentle awakening of urban life. In this final hour, the 1920s European city exists in perfect equilibrium, life flows steadily, deliberately, and gracefully. Every detail, the glimmer of sunlight, the aroma of bread, the gentle current of the river, the measured movements of people and animals, blends into a harmonious, sustaining cadence. A full day has passed, from quiet dawn to busy morning, from measured afternoon to calm night, and now back to dawn again. The city, in its ordinary yet extraordinary rhythm, breathes slowly and deliberately, ready to begin the cycle anew.